Monsters, Inc., Up, Inside Out, and Soul. He was also the executive producer of the Oscar-winning Brave. I'm sorry, I get all excited. Toy Story 4, Luca, Turning Red, Elemental, and the summer hit Inside Out 2. Please welcome Pete Docter! Way too excited for you, Pete. I'm way too excited. Come on out, Pete. All right, and now this next incredible creator and storyteller was the lead of Imagineering efforts at Walt Disney World Resorts, focusing on the reimagining of Epcot. We gotta love Epcot. And the portfolio executive for the new experience development. Please get up for Zach Riddley! Yeah. Come on. Oh my gosh! Okay, super excited about you two being on the stage.
Yeah, fun.
First and foremost, congratulations. The showcases have been mind-blowing, like rock concerts.
Yeah, it's crazy. The energy is, I had never stood in front of 12,000 people before and heard that roar. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was so much fun. What about you, Zach?
The scale of this is amazing, but to see all the fans get a chance to see some of the announcements and to see the excitement is what we live for. So
Yeah, exactly, and to have both of you on stage now with all of these incredible announcements from the Toy Story 5 coming out, and then now Monsters, Inc. Monsters, Inc. The Ride. Okay. I feel like we kind of have to unpack that first.
Well, so, I was working on Monsters, Inc. We had the concept, and then we were like, okay, where do the doors come from? Do they store them all? We had this idea of the vault, and I swear, within 5 minutes of coming up with this door vault idea, we were like, that would make the coolest ride. So we've been waiting for 25 years for this,
Imagineering takes its time, right? But to Pete's point, it's amazing to get a chance to work with Pixar across all of not only the films you make, but how they translate into the parks and understand that this was a ready-made story for us, and we're excited to bring it to life.
Absolutely. So, first of all, we're going to do some icebreaker questions because we got to get to a little bit more about you, okay? So, here we go. What inspired you to become a storyteller? Was there a particular moment in your youth that sparked your interest?
For me, it was the Muppets. I love the Muppets. The Frank Oz, who's going to become a legend tomorrow, his work, the characters are so rich and fun, and that's what got me into it.
Great.
Well, and the Tiki Room. I remember coming out here, so I grew up in Minnesota, and my parents would drive across the country to go visit relatives, and the highlight was always going to Disneyland. And I literally tried I got bamboo from my grandparents who lived in Pasadena, and trekked it all the way back to Minnesota to try to recreate the Tiki Room in my bedroom. Very limited success, but...
Well, similarly, I grew up on the East Coast in South Carolina and grew up going to Walt Disney World as a kid. And my first visit, I was about 5 or 6, was to Epcot. And at the time, I was really inspired. I didn't know what it meant to eventually study architecture, which is the craft that I went into. But I remember being inspired by the feeling that a place can bring when it's built in such a way that it's just defining emotions. So it wasn't until after I went to school and then moved to Los Angeles that I actually found out about Imagineering and ended up starting there almost 2 decades ago. So it's been a great journey. And
you were able to apply your architecture, right, background into, of course, being an Imagineer.
Yeah, I always talk about when I speak about this. Most people are like, how do you really do architecture? Most people think we're like animators, right? That we come up with these great concept designs and then hire professionals and technical folks to make it real. And what I learned was all those people are in-house. It's what it takes to be imagination and engineering, which is where Imagineering sort of comes from. But I had no idea that it would be a great career, and now 2 decades into it, I'm continue to look forward to all the great stories that we can tell together.
Absolutely. And Pete, you were an animator for Cranium Command, right?
Any Cranium Command fans out there? Yeah, all right. There's 2 of you. Yeah. Thank you.
And so how did that attraction inspire you for your other projects down the line?
Well, so I was going to school, and I was lucky enough to get an internship at Disney Feature Animation. They were doing The Little Mermaid. That's how old I am. But they were like, we don't have anything for you to do yet, so could you help out on this this thing that didn't have a name yet for the parks? And so I got to work with Kirk Wise and Gary Trousdale, who went on to direct Beauty and the Beast. And it was there was a very small crew. If you ever saw the show, it was like a pre-show where as you were waiting, you got kind of the backstory of what you were in for. It basically all took place inside the mind of this kid, which, does that sound familiar? I don't think it I didn't consciously think of it as we were coming up with Inside Out, but it's probably back there somewhere as an inspiration.
I'm sitting here thinking about what character might be in your brain now. What emotion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, first of all, congratulations on Inside Out 2. Oh my goodness. Breaking records, and rightfully so. So let's talk about Inside Out 2 for a second. What do you think really attributed to its success? I mean, I have a theory.
I guess my thinking is, okay, maybe, hopefully people like the first one.
Yeah.
So they're in for more. And then anxiety. Anxiety is it's not a pleasant thing to say, hey, we're piggybacking on anxiety in the world, but it's kind of true.
So real.
And there is a good reason we have anxiety. It's not just bad that we want to get rid of.
Yeah.
She's trying to do good for you. So we tried to bring that out in the storytelling and help people understand what's going on in there.
She's truly my emotional spirit animal. And Zach, I mean, going back to Epcot, tell us about your experience, because it's such a magical place. We were talking about how the foundation is, it's all about experiencing humanity, potential, possibility. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, no, to Pete's point, anxiety is a part of a lot of the creative process too, and thinking about how is this idea that we have in our heads, how's it going to become real? Is it going to be good enough? Are we going to actually achieve our goals? So that was very universal, I think, in the appeal. But yeah, for Epcot, most of my career at Imagineering has been in planning, master planning, menu planning, and to get a chance to work on the transformation of that park, which was this amazing idea that Walt had of an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And when he was thinking of Walt Disney World, that was always going to be the sort of heartbeat of the entire property. So once Imagineers translated his original vision into the park that we know today, it's so unique, and to have a chance to help transform it and take it to the next 40 years of its history was really an honor. But to your point, it's a park that celebrates us. It's a unique park. Imagineers never created anything like it in our history. And it's about the idea of human possibility, what we can do when a global community comes together, and inspiring this generation and future generations.
Right. And you did say something about, how many times did you exactly ride Guardians of the Galaxy?
That was it. So how many folks here have had a chance to ride Guardians of the Galaxy? Well, when we were, what's great about this is you spend years designing an experience, and when you get to ride it for the first time, you've learned it has things you were not expecting. And it has music, and so finding a collection of songs that just perfectly match with the motion profile and obviously the soundtrack from Guardians. And so we had a bunch of music tracks to check, and we had a very limited amount of time. So I think my record was like 27 times in a row. And we had a whole range of songs, and at some point it blurs together. But I did find the best seat that kind of reduces the nausea factor.
So my question is, after 27, where you're like, I'm ready to go again, or you're like, I got to go lie down somewhere?
Well, it's probably a little bit of both. Although what you inspire is like, what about this song? What about these other 3 songs? So the music team's like, oh, come on. But no, it was a great process, and it's great to see so many fans love it as an experience.
So many fans love it. And okay, going back to our feelings, Pete, it's safe to say that you are a Pixar OG.
I've been there for coming on 35 years.
Gosh, yes. Bringing us, of course, like you really have brought us through some pretty challenging moments in life, and Pixar is always there to help remind you how to process feelings, and we really appreciate that. So how has your experience been for you, especially when Pixar became part of the Disney family?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always saw, as we were doing Toy Story, the first one,
Yeah.
we looked to Disney as a path forward. What do we focus on? Because there's so many things to pay attention to. And if you're focused on the wrong thing, we always say, like, technology is really exciting, but if the technology becomes the driver, then it's kind of not worth doing in a way, because you've got to move people, right? They want to be emotionally affected by the story that you're doing, and so the technology is always there, as is everything, in service of the storytelling that we're trying to do, which is what I appreciate about the theme parks as well. And anytime we have an opportunity to cross paths, it's so fun. I mean, I love seeing our worlds get brought to life. Because in the computer, it's all virtual. We don't actually get to touch anything. We don't see anything. So then when you walk in the parks and you're like, I'm in this place that I've only dreamed about, that I've only seen flat on a screen, it's kind of overwhelming emotionally.
Right, and Toy Story 5, the subject matter of Toy Story 5 is absolutely brilliant. How did that come about?
Well, I mean, as we've been going along, I think since Toy Story 3, we're kind of like, you know, kids don't really play with toys as much. They're more into the technology, but we're going to ignore that because this is a story about these characters that we need.
Yeah.
So now we're facing the music and using that as, this is going to be a challenge for the whole gang to stay connected to their kids in the face of technology.
Right.
And you know, it's fun because we all love technology. You guys are using it right now.
Right.
And yet it's also something that is a little sad, you know, that we're separating from the tangible toys and connections we have with each other. So it's one of the things I love about storytelling is when there's no good guys or bad guys. It's all a gray area. Like I can be on either side of that, you know, at any given time.
Mm-hmm. It's very personal for me because it's like, yes, our kids have technology, but at the same time, they also need it to evolve, like for the future. Because if you even want to become an Imagineer nowadays, right? You need to understand the basics of technology.
Good transition.
Great transition, right? I tried. Yeah. But what does the future, you know, of Imagineering look like to you, Zach?
Yeah, well, to Pete's point, I think at the heart of it is the creative process and whatever tools we use. You know, having grown up and then gone to school for architecture, so much of it is, it's in your mind, but there are all these tools, physical models. And so when I first started at Imagineering, what was amazing to me was seeing all these Imagineers through history, but even, you know, when I started using the combination of digital and physical tools to bring a whole bunch of really unique disciplines together to realize this one vision.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the unique things that, even going back to Walt, he had said, what he loved about Disneyland, or what inspired him, partly was obviously a place where he could spend time with his daughters and families, but also a place where the stories are not finite, that they can continue to live and grow and trend and evolve. And so we, you know, Imagineering, another thing that I find really unique about our partnership across the company is, for anything that's ever been built in any place at any time with Disney's name on it, there was Imagineering at the center. They were there at the beginning.
Yep.
And I think that partly translates to the creative relationships that we have with all of our collaborators across the company. There's a shared sense of like responsibility and connection to the parks and to the memories that the stories that we tell bring. And so the tools are really just a medium to help ultimately deliver and get to that. How do we keep these parks alive and representing the amazing stories coming out of the minds of all the folks across the company?
Yeah, I mean, now you're continuing the story of Coco. Really excited about that.
Yes.
Please tell us how that came to be, and how do you come together as a team to bring these attractions to life?
Well, it's always a shared thing, and you know, I think what you guys are probably looking for is the same thing we're looking for, is these rich places that you want to go into, that you want to go spend time. And the world of Coco, I mean, Harley Jessup, who's the production designer, did such a fantastic job of making it. It's almost like you could smell and taste stuff there, you know? So the idea of being able to walk into that is super exciting.
Yeah, no, Coco's an amazing story, and I think the music, the multi-language, the sort of world of the dead, and how to bring that to life. I mean, the geniuses at Pixar have given us so many beautiful places to create, and such an amazing story that connects to multi-generational families, and so it's a ready-made experience. Honestly, for us, one of the bigger challenges is how do we prioritize and how do we find a place, physical space for all these great stories, and obviously here at Disneyland Resort, we got 2 amazing parks, and so it felt very much like an extension of the California Adventure story to bring Coco to life there.
One of the interesting things in translating film to theme parks is we can tell these very complex stories with a lot of plot detail that hinges on specific lines of dialogue and multiple threads of storytelling. In a ride, it's more of an experience than a story. I remember Mark Davis saying, "We don't tell stories, we make experiences." There's some story in there, but it has to be simplified down to the point where you're just more feeling, I think.
Yeah.
No,
exactly right. I mean, it's both inspiring and sometimes really, really scary when we see some of these amazing films, because there's so many beautiful moments, and you're able to build that emotion over 90 plus minutes with characters and dialogue, and in our attractions you might have 4 or 5 minutes to be able to translate that. So it's about, to Pete's point, distilling, and I always find that there's a huge amount of crossover between the sort of artistic process that goes into a film and into translating into rides, because you need designers who can take cues and create that, especially if you've seen the film, create that connection that fills a lot of the memory in, so you don't have to actually spend 90 minutes telling that same story. But distilling and keeping the essence is such a critical part of cracking what an actual story will translate to an attraction.
By the way, I just sort of name dropped Mark Davis. Do you guys know Mark Davis? Everybody? Okay, good.
Shout out to Mark Davis.
Won't waste time explaining what you already know then.
Well, okay, I'd like to know, what is your favorite emotions?
Well, okay, that's an easy one, joy. And working with Amy Poehler is an absolute joy. She is fantastic and makes everything fun. She's that's the other thing. I think for most of us, we're so worried about ourselves and how we'll come off that we end up being kind of upright and tight. And she is just all about other people, making you look good, laughing at your jokes. She's such a giving performer that that's what I aspire to be. I think more often, though, I'm probably more like anxiety. True.
Same. What about you, Zach?
For me, it's curiosity, which we haven't seen that character come to life yet, but...
I wonder why. That's a curious question. I'll think about it.
Curious question. Inspiring for the future. No, just, always asking why, wanting to understand how something works, what the creative process is, and understanding what's next. I think that comes from curiosity.
Curiosity, from the research we did on Inside Out, is a good diffuser for anxiety. So sometimes if you're feeling nervous, to approach it with curiosity diffuses the swirling whirl and cuts through that.
So fascinating. I could sit here and talk to you both forever. Well, both of you have such inspiring careers and different paths, but then your words collide, right? What words of inspiration do you have to these incredible folks out there who might want to pursue careers as storytellers, as Imagineers?
Well, I would say do it, right? Don't just talk about it, do it. And the thing I always equate it to is like nobody would hand you a guitar and say, you're playing a concert tonight because I know you have naturally intuitive talent, That doesn't happen. You have to practice. You have to practice. And it's the same with storytelling. You have to, I always thought I'll just dream up the perfect story and then I'll be a storyteller. I don't know what I thought. And then you realize, no, you do it again and again and again and again. Not only on one story, because it's not about writing, it's rewriting, but multiple stories. So the more you do it, the better you get, and then the more tools you have to draw on.
Love that.
For me, I think it's seeking out a community of people who inspire you, who are into some of the same things that you're in, and it could be in your hometown, it could be virtually, because everything that we do takes huge teams of people who each bring something totally unique to the process. So learning how to collaborate and bring what it is that inspires you to a group that's going to create something together, I think is going to be successful no matter which branch of your future that you choose to pursue.
That's beautiful. Are you all ready for the lightning speed round questions?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, it's going to be Pixar related. You okay with that? Of course.
Pixar related, okay.
Pixar with that. Okay. If you were a Pixar character, who would it be and why?
I would be Buzz Lightyear because I could be deluded.
gonna say Luca because I love Italy.
Oh, Luca's great. Yes. Okay. What is your favorite song in a Pixar movie to sing along to?
Well, okay, the most earwormy for me is Remember Me.
Oh,
See now even I say those two words and it's stuck in my head.
we're all like melting.
That was gonna be mine, so I'll say.
Really?
Right.
Yes. I'll say Remember Me.
Yeah, it's the same answer.
Okay. Okay. What is your favorite Pixar movie for a cozy night in?
Well, it's going to be self-serving to say Up, but that's...
And what is your favorite Pixar park attraction?
Well, it's the upcoming door coaster. I mean, come on. I haven't even seen it yet. I've seen the plans, but I know that's going to be cool.
Yes, we're excited to bring that to life.
What about you, Zach?
My favorite
Pixar park attraction?
Pixar park attraction. Well, I definitely think the Doorbell coaster is going to be one of our most. Actually, I'd say Ratatouille. So I get a chance to
I
bring,
love
great one.
that one
That's
too.
to bring that world. It's a daunting attraction to bring to life, but it was to really be able to put you inside
Yeah.
France and cuisine and
Smells.
Yeah, and the scale change. I think it's a great design assignment, but it's something that we've seen resonate with a lot of fans.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, what an honor. Thank you both for
Thank you.
stepping in our
Yeah,
special
thank you.
spotlight. Give it up for being Docter and Zach Riddley. Oh my goodness. Let's take a picture. Let's take a